Good day, viewers. Today I'll be discussing two important points. As Zimbabwe celebrates this week, Heroes Day, the first question that I'll be discussing is whether Zimbabweans should even celebrate the Heroes Day. And so, what does it really mean in terms of national perspective? The second question that I'll be discussing is who should declare one a national hero, and whether the government of the day should continue declaring heroes for the national shrine. Let's start with the first one. I think it is fair to say we Zimbabweans owe the peace and independence that we have today from brothers and sisters who perished during the liberation struggle in pursuit of freedom, in pursuit of one man, one vote, in pursuit of economic empowerment of the Black people, of the African people. The next question is whether the purpose of independence, the purpose of a liberation struggle, that purpose that so many people perished in pursuit of has been achieved in Zimbabwe. I'll come back to that. It is in a separate critical analysis. But if we reflect in terms of liberation struggle, in terms of brothers and sisters who died in pursuit of freedom, that yes, we Zimbabweans need to commemorate, we need to remember our fallen heroes. Some of the names that will come into my mind is people like Magama Tomogara, Herbert Chitepo, people like Joshua Nkomo, people like Dabaningi Stole, people like Nikita Mangena. Too many to mention. But those are some of the examples of heroes of our times. And I think those names that I've highlighted did contribute to the liberation struggle for Zimbabwe, peace and tranquility. And some of the heroes died before even we attained independence, people like Herbert Chitepo and Tongoga. And with that in mind, those people who died fighting for freedom selflessly need to be accorded the space to reflect, commemorate, and thank them for the good work that they did. Notwithstanding that we've got people in ZANU PF, people like Robert Mugabe, people like the current president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, who despite having been in the liberation struggle, fighting for a noble cause, have sold out. When I mean sold out, is that the purpose of the liberation struggle was to give freedom to the majority people of Zimbabwe, to the Black majority people, was to give an economic emancipation, bring about economic emancipation for the people of Zimbabwe, bring about prosperity, and also the services that Black people before 1980 were not allowed to access in a sort of segregated service delivery that was there by the white minority regime. Fast forward 40 years down the line. Can we, Zimbabwe, truly and honestly say that we are enjoying the benefits of independence, that we are enjoying the economic emancipation that came with the liberation struggle, that we have the freedom of speech, freedom of association, that our brothers and sisters fought for, Can we genuinely say that we are on a crusade of prosperity because of the liberation struggle? Certainly not. If the truth is to be told, the current government of ZANU PF have trashed freedom of expression, have trashed freedom of speech. So many people languish in jail, being charged for undermining the office of the president just for expressing their views. So many people are dying because of no access to medication. We have hospitals without medication. We have hospitals that are crumbling. The health system that once thrived is crumbling. We have people who are starving to death because they cannot afford to buy food. The prices have skyrocketed. Worse still, in the past 7 months, after the government introduced the RTGS, the so-called new Zimbabwean dollar, which had seen that disparity between the exchange rate, US dollars to RTGS. We've seen prices skyrocketing, an increase of over 400%, 500%, 600% in some instances. Yet the salaries and wages of a common Zimbabwean remain static. An average civil servant takes home pay maybe 400 RTGS, 600 RTGS, which has been reduced to about 25 US dollars. If we are to reflect on the current exchange rate, that amount is not even enough for transport for 1 week, let alone the entire month, let alone to feed the family. And these are values that are inconsistent with the values of liberation struggle. And of late, we have seen the Auditor General's report being presented, and the report itself makes a sad reading on the state of affairs, state of corruption in our country. The corruption and the looting that people in authority, appointed by the government, appointed by the ZANU PF government to look after the welfare of the people, looting from NASA, a port that is supposed to be looking after the vulnerable people, that is supposed to be looking after our pensions, have been looted dry. People parceling out 150 million amongst themselves. By the way, I'm talking about US dollars. So the divide and the gap between the rich and the poor in Zimbabwe have widened more than ever before. Only a 1% of those in power in ZANU PF circles can afford 3-course meal, can afford 2 meals a day. The 99% of the population are in abject poverty. They are making a living out of vending. And again, very difficult in terms of accessing to services. We've seen power in terms of electricity, 18 hours a day of no electricity. We've seen access to water, clean water. Most of the cities, some of them have gone for 6 months without water. The fuel, we saw now about 3 times. The government has increased for the past 6 months, have increased 3 times the price of fuel. And not only that, Fuel is now a scarce commodity, although it's not scarce to the people that be. The queen bees, people in government, they can easily access because they've got the money which they've looted. And these are totally in contrast to the values of liberation struggle. And I'm sure those who perished in pursuit of a fairer Zimbabwe today are turning in their graves. So, but that does not necessarily mean that we must not commemorate the day. But we must commemorate with a vision. In that, I mean, we must take audit of our current leadership, take audit of our current government, and confront them. And confront them we must. And remind them that this is not the Zimbabwe that our brothers and sisters fought for. And we need to be frank with each other. And we need to be fearless. We need to be open with each other. And unless then, can we change the fortunes of Zimbabwe. And we are looking for a Zimbabwe that is for the many, not for the few. And this aligns very well with the values of MDC, by the way. Now, let's look at the second question. And the second question was, who should declare a national hero? Since 1980, people have been declared national heroes and have been buried at the national shrine on partisan basis. And that has always been debatable. And we've made it very clear, Zimbabwe has made it very clear, that the term national hero has been abused by ZANU PF for their own selfish gain. It has been a trend that only those who were aligned to ZANU PF, who were parroting for the dear leader of the day, would be declared a national hero. We saw people like Jairus G, who was not declared a national hero. We saw people like Reverend Damaning Sona, just because he differed in ideology with the government of the day, was not declared a national hero. My perspective of a national hero, and I think many of you would agree with me, is that we should look at the heroes in various sectors, not necessarily people who fought during the liberation struggle, because very soon we are going to run out of those who fought the liberation struggle. Most of them will be dead anyway. But that does not necessarily mean we cannot continue generation after generation to reflect on our national heroes. So to me, there must be a body set up, which is a non-partisan body, not necessarily a government, not necessarily the president, a national body or non-partisan, constituted by all stakeholders, that looks at those people that can be rewarded as national heroes from various sectors. And that must reflect in terms of our culture, it must reflect in terms of our religion, it must be reflected in terms of our sectors, various sectors, innovations, technology and innovations, manufacturing, various sectors, people who have improved or contributed immensely to both in terms of sovereignty, in terms of innovation, in terms of social cohesion, in terms even in the rural areas, in terms of innovating in rural areas. So this is how I see in terms of the hero status that we must be bestowed within a Zimbabwean context. And until we Zimbabweans agree on such type of approach, which is non-partisan, which is national in nature, which actually reward talent rather than politics of the day, can we truly unite and rally behind the consensus, have a consensus on National Heroes Days? So yes, I've introduced those two questions, and feel free to put your own comments and your own views. And I think going forward, Zimbabweans must be open to each other, open with each other, to make sure that we carve a future for our children. I thank you.